All right. So let's get started. I want to say hello to everyone. Thanks for joining us for this webinar that we have today to talk about artificial intelligence and advancing customer experience through that. I'm Lionel Bodin, your co-host for this webinar. Thank you again for joining this session. So today we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and how it can change customer care and create more personalized and efficient experiences. So I will be your co-host, and just a brief introduction about Paul. So Paulie will be my co-host for today's session. Paul is a senior manager with a wealth of experience in digital customer experience strategy, product management. He has worked on product development, personal development, customer journey mapping across several industries, including utilities, telecom, and media. On my side, I'm Lionel Bodin, so Senior Director at Logic 2020. I manage a portfolio of engagements across industries. I help clients leverage technology to improve business value. Whether it's about moving to the cloud to improve scalability and reliability of solutions, or implement customer-facing solutions on the web, on mobile, or build employee-facing solutions also, and backend applications. A brief word about Logic 2020. So we are a business and technology consulting firm headquartered in Seattle and present in several hubs across the nation. So our industry focus is on high-tech, utilities, financial services, and healthcare. At Logic, we believe that projects are way too many times made too complicated for the desired outcome. So we really try to focus on solving the problem that our clients are facing and provide the simplest solution possible. Simple doesn't mean that it's easy. So it's always, but it's the purpose that we have here at Logic. All right. So today we're going to talk about several things. First, we start, with what we see in the market, the trends. What are the big stats that we think are important to share? We'll continue with an understanding of the customer. So obviously, customer expectations are changing across industries. So we'll talk a little bit about that before we get into two use cases that are based on experience, projects that we have delivered that we want to share with you. And talk a little bit about how AI can be leveraged in a customer care domain to improve the customer experience. We'll talk a little bit about evaluating and implementing the AI solution. So what is the process to do this and to do that efficiently? And we share a little bit of lesson learned of AI in customer care. We also talk a little bit about how to get started and how to to progress in that field. And we'll finish with a Q&A session. All right, so let's dive in. So really to start with, as we were preparing the webinar with Paul, we thought that we would share those two statistics that you see here. We thought it was really illustrating where we are right now with AI, especially with all the latest evolutions that we saw in the last I would say last 20 months have been pretty intense on the AI front. So we just wanted to bring that up. So the first one is really about, for customer service, McKinsey predicts that AI can potentially automate 45% of tasks in customer service. So it's not a minor number that we see here. And we feel like it's really indicative of what is the trend right now for AI in customer care. The second stat that is interesting comes from Gartner, and what they say is that if we talk about generative AI, 80% of the customer service and support organizations will be applying generative AI technology in some form to have a better customer experience again. And we think that those two stats are really laying down the foundation of what is the trend right now that we are all experiencing, us including, as a consulting company, to try to make a better customer experience. So these numbers are not just impressive by the high percentage that we see. It's really representative of the fundamental shift in the way that businesses are approaching customer service and how to leverage AI to get better at it. So it's in the past few years, we've seen really an evolution from AI being an experimental technology to AI being a table stake. So now it's a given, and we see customers really implementing AI as a necessity to stay competitive and deliver exceptional customer experiences. And I'm sure that most of you have seen and witnessed that AI is becoming that increasingly critical to the project portfolios in the recent years. And I think those two stats are really showcasing this. The other thing that is also changing is the customers. The expectations from the customers are different. Obviously, it varies across industries. But I would say that, as customers or consumers, we are all influenced by experiences that we can have with the major digital first companies. I'm thinking about Facebook, Alphabet, Netflix. Even now, ChatGPT is influencing us. So it sets some kind of an expectation when it comes to customer service and how we are being handled or being managed by brands. So it really changed how the relationship is evolving in terms of expectation for the digital experience. After that, by pockets of industries, it's also different. So if I take the example of utilities, there is a big trend right now where we move from customers that were more consumers of power to customers being prosumers, so having a part producer and a part consumer. That changes drastically how the relationship between utilities and customers need to evolve and need to adjust. Especially with the emergence of distributed energy resources with DERMS solutions, that changes a lot the way utilities are addressing their customers. It's the same in food services. If we think about that specific vertical, the digital experience, the mobile ordering, the approach and the impact of the delivery first, food servicing experience is also changing how customer service happens. And if I take about telecom, another industry, it's also the same. So in a sense that it's a little bit different in terms of what is the impact through the tailor plan, through having all the payment arrangement that came up after COVID. Those experiences are changing the way brands are interacting with customers, and customer service is at the forefront of that. So let's just say that in front of those evolutions, AI has a big role into this. AI can provide a better customer experience. That's what we're going to see in the use cases. It can provide a really powerful solution to address those challenges. And so by leveraging AI-powered tools, we can deliver a better personalized experience, which will have an impact on the CSAT and then the customer experience overall, but also provide timely and accurate information, support the growing demand for sustainable energy solutions for utilities. So let's dive in now in the content and in the different use cases that we brought together for you guys today. So as we were preparing, we wanted to talk about two topics that we think are really evolving pretty rapidly these days. So one part on the left is more about customer-facing systems, so virtual assistants that you can have on the web. So it's really about leveraging AI to have a way to automate some of the actions and to have some sort of service on the web through virtual assistants. So it can be to answer customer questions, to resolve common issues, to guide customers through a process on the service to help them, navigate better the website. So that will be the first bucket. I will be covering that use case. Paul will be covering the second use case, which is more internal for call centers. So how we can help customer service representatives provide a better experience to customers while on the phone or on chat. So we'll see a little bit about those different AI tools that can be leveraged on the call center to improve the experience on calls and chats. In a nutshell, we'll go through several use cases in that specific expert assist use case, such as the customer intent, routing calls to the most qualified agents, the summarization of interactions after calls, or suggesting relevant knowledge articles. So we go through that in details. And obviously, if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to share that in the chat, and we can address that towards the end of the webinar. All right, so let's double click on the first solution, the web virtual assistant solution. So we have the same structure for both of the use cases. First, we'll talk about the feature list. So what is it? What is this solution? So really, that solution is about having a channel on the website that you probably already have that is self-serving customers, that is enabling the self-service. And really provide through a chat channel automated answers to questions that customers might have. So there are a lot of different solutions. Paul will talk a little bit about that in the next couple of slides, but there are a lot of different solutions that you can leverage to build that specific features. You can go with a cloud provider. They already have, all the cloud components to build that kind of solution. You can go with, one of your CRM solution that will also provide that kind of service or that kind of solution. You can go with your IVR solution, which might also have that kind of solution. And there are pros and cons for all of those solutions, obviously. So depending on which type of partner you decide to go with, obviously, each of them have pros and cons on short term, middle term, and long term. What I would say is cloud providers are probably at really the edge of AI components. We've seen a lot of creativity in the last few years with cloud providers on those specific solutions. So if we talk a little bit about the features, usually because we talk about call centers and serving customers, even if it's on the website, obviously there's going to be some peak time as we all experience with call centers, and sometimes where it's a little bit less, you will get less volume on the call center. So the cloud aspect is really helping in that scalability and reliability. So whenever we implement that kind of solution, it's going to take a very strong case to go against going without the cloud for this, just because it's easier to first set up a POC very quickly in a cloud environment, and it's also better for the scalability. So, for example, if I take the example of the utilities, whenever there is an outage or whenever there is a weather event, there might be a drastic increase on the volume of call of course. And so that component helps a lot with this. The second part that I would say is usually with those solutions, you can address voice and text at the same time. So you can have that chat working on chat, that chatbot working on chat, but you can also have a similar component reusing some of the tech stack for the voice aspect. So in this example, we started with the website on the self-service website that was already existing. But we also had an Alexa component where voice would be enabled and client might be able to ask questions directly on Alexa. And it can be also through the IVR. So it's really a good aspect, a good benefit, having an additional channel where you can kind of merge the two channels. Can be multilingual, so now those solutions can be very easily loaded with translation config files where you can handle several languages very easily. So it's pretty out of the box, and it's pretty cool to see when you see customers, just interacting with all the different language that you want to support through your website. And obviously, the big aspect, and that's where the AI is. That's the natural language processing. So when we implement a chatbot like this, really where the AI is in the matching of the question coming up from the client, which might be formulated in very different ways from each customers. And the AI component is able to understand that request and then find the correct answer and generate that correct answer. So that's really where the AI is. Obviously, after that, you have all the classic kind of features needs to be integrated with legacy systems. So, for example, if you want to provide the last bill amount, or if you want to provide information about current usage, you need to be integrated with legacy systems. So that comes with all the authentication, the rights, and etc., to make sure that you provide the right information at the right time with the good access, and obviously the security that comes with it, especially for this specific system where it's customer facing. You want to make sure that anything that is around that chatbot is secure and does not offer any kind of breach for hacking. The last thing I would say, because it's very often underestimated, is when you build a chatbot like this, obviously it's great. It's a great customer experience. You can, guide people through questions very easily. But the thing that is really great after that is that you also have a very strong set of analytics that you can build on that solution to understand better what the clients are asking. So we found when we implemented those solutions that it was another way to capture what the clients were, really expecting from the brand, and that aspect is really interesting. It's been also a very good way to continuously improve the chatbot, so it provides more and more better answer. So that's for the future list. If we talk about the benefits, so obviously it's a chatbot, so it's up and running all the time. So whenever, even if the call center is not 24/7, and even if you don't have a call center up at the time, the chatbot can be up and running and provide answers to customers directly. We find that it improves customer experience pretty drastically in a sense that sometimes customers will struggle to find the information on the FAQs that they have on websites. They have to navigate, ask the question, the search. In the search, sometimes the results are not fine. They have to go through all the results. Whereas with the chatbot, usually it gives a better experience. And the big thing is you can also have the customer say what they think about the answer. So your business part on the call center side or on the website management side can have a look at that feedback through the analytics that I mentioned before, and adjust the answers and the way to answer clients. So it can be tailoring the answers, can be adding also answers. So that's one part that is pretty cool about it. Obviously, the big benefit is the call deflection. On that specific example, with that chatbot, we were able to reduce by 16% the call ending on the call centers, which was a pretty large dollar impact for that customer. So that's really where, by helping clients self-serve as much as possible, you have less calls ending up, on the call center, and having, less basic calls, I would say, ending on the call center. So I already talked about the data-driven insight, but I'm gonna, just add a little bit more to that. I think, again, you have, I remember on this project we had, dashboards in which we could see the word cloud of requests coming in. We were able also to see the customer CSAT in real time that was provided by customers. That set of analytics, it was really a way for that company, a new way for that company to keep a finger on the pulse of the client expectations. And I think on top of the analytics that you have for your websites, it's definitely another one that brings value. All right, so with that, I will hand it over to Paul to talk about the second use case on Expert Assist.
Awesome. Thanks, Lionel. So Lionel just went over the virtual assistant use case. A lot of our clients typically like to invest and start with the virtual assistant one just to prove out the value of AI at call centers and contact centers. After you collect a lot of the data from the virtual assistants and see how it works with your company's proprietary information, the next logical step that we've been noticing as a trend is moving into an investment in messaging agents and then onto voice agents. So what that means is a messaging agent experience is when a customer messages into your call center with any questions or issues that they might have, and then there's somebody on the other side messaging them back in real time. And then after all that data is collected and analyzed and AI models are starting to be built and infrastructure developed, voice agents are the big one that costs a lot of money at call centers. And so implementing AI in that area is actually pretty complex, and it takes a lot of understanding of how your company's data works. So there is a maturity model to this AI implementation at the contact centers. So this slide right here has on the left side a visual of what we've implemented at one of our clients on the messaging and the voice agent side. On the left side, you've got automated responses. So agents are able to save responses that they typically send over and over again on the same questions to customers that ask, so they can save time. On the top right, we've got a general payment. So that's actually powered by an AI model that we've trained, where when a lot of customers message in or call in, they're speaking about different types of topics, and we quickly want to change the screen based on what that topic is changed to. So in this case, it's general payment, and all of the information on the left and the right side of the screen will change throughout the conversation, especially if the conversation moves to different types of topics. So on the top right, we've got quick facts. So this one's a general payment call. Customers calling in about, something about their payment information, probably an issue with an unforeseen charge that came up last month. And so it automatically integrates into the company's SAP systems, ERP systems, to understand the customer's account information, quickly pop this up for the agent and help resolve the call faster. If it becomes too difficult to answer the questions or resolve the call, typically agents will search on their knowledge-based systems and look up articles and read through, and it can get very tedious because some call centers have thousands of articles. Our client had 50,000 articles to sift through, and quickly these calls went from anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes all the way up to 30 minutes long. And so our AI also powered an article engine that quickly scanned through what the conversation context was about and popped up the five most relevant articles that would resolve these calls as well. So as you can see on the right side, scalable cloud platform, that's a really important thing. The models will get better and better as more data comes in. So our client had 17 call centers around the US, over 10,000 agents. And as we scaled, the AI model got smarter and smarter and was able to reduce call volume and reduce call time as well. Progressive addition of AI widgets. So I just walked through sort of the progression of AI that we developed for the client. And once we had that full screen, the last step on this screen was the bottom left, the memo. So typically when you call into a call center, an agent will take notes for the next time you call in so that they don't have to ask you the same questions. But we figured out a way to automate this. We actually were able to save the messaging conversations or transcribe the voice over the phone, and then run our topic models and our AI models onto it and summarize those conversations so that next time an agent talks to a customer, instead of asking the same questions, they could read the memo, take about a minute or two while they're in the IVR or the voice chat, and then quickly get on the phone and immediately understand, okay, this customer previously called last week about some payment issue, probably wasn't resolved. Let me see if I can help make sure that's resolved quicker on this call. Once we've built that out, we did launch a new experience that was able to automate some of the agent's actions as well. And so that one was the suggested next best action. So there were certain workflows that customers called in about, a lot of simple ones like payment arrangements where a customer during COVID may have lost their job or had some financial struggles and couldn't pay their bills on time, and they needed to set up a payment plan. So the agents would have to do it themselves on their end, but we developed a next best action workflow once we identified what the customer was talking about, and then sent them a workflow to their phone or to their email so that they could self-serve on these actions. And then finally, what we discovered as a roadmap for use cases, we just wanted to tackle. There were about 30 different topics that a customer would call in about, and some were more complicated than others. And so we tackled the easiest ones first, and then the more complicated ones, we were looking to figure out how to develop a hybrid workflow where an agent can solve it or it could be self-serve. And that was where we identified that assessing the customer intent of a conversation was really important for us to hit our metrics and figure out the roadmap for solving these customer issues. So this is a high-level list of the features that we developed for our messaging and voice call center agents. And the next slide will go through the metrics, the outcomes, the business investment. So the project took a couple of years to implement, get it off the ground, and scale to all the call centers. The metrics were incredible. The business was super satisfied. Customers were very satisfied. We tracked a lot of NPS and CSAT scores. The client CSAT scores went over 9 out of 10. The NPSs were already at a 4. This client of ours had very high satisfaction from the customers already, but we've increased it even further. In terms of operational efficiencies, the main big ones were how much time is being spent on a call, average handle time, as well as how many calls actually have to keep coming in, just because if you don't solve it the first time, they come in again and again. It takes a lot of time. So we tracked a lot of these metrics just to see if we could reduce call handle time. And on average, an agent can spend 10 minutes to 30 minutes long on these calls. But if you save even 10 seconds or 20 seconds, they can actually intake several more calls during the day. So it was a huge metric that we were able to reduce over time through the workflows. And then the bottom right one, this was an interesting one, the first call resolution. So this was a little bit of a difficult metric to get around because customers will call back over and over again if their issue is not resolved. So we were trying to figure out the easiest workflows that they could self-serve And payment arrangements was the first use case that we implemented for the client. And so the first call resolution metric improved rapidly after we started working on these self-serve models. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the experience for the messaging and voice agents on these two slides. I want to go into kind of the process of how we thought about approaching such an AI implementation. So on this slide, we've got a 6-step process. We want to work with the business side and understanding the goals, like what folks are trying to accomplish for the year, whether it's increasing revenue, maximizing operational costs, or minimizing operational costs, and then maximizing CSAT or customer satisfaction scores. Sometimes it could be a combination of all three. Once we understand that, we'll know where to look for the data, see the state of your data, the security of the data, how easy it is to integrate that data into AI models. And once we understand that, we can look into AI technology, see which one best fits your needs in terms of infrastructure, backend, AI engines, as well as a front-end experience for the actual customers or the agents. And then we'll pilot just to see how mature our ideas are when we set our goals, and which ones to go after first. And there's a lot of pilots that go on when you do AI, just because some are harder to solve than others. And we typically recommend solving the easiest problems first, just to get started, collect data, train the models, and then the harder problems actually get easier over time, just because you already got a pretty powerful AI engine from the easy models. And then after you've developed a few pilots and launch this and scale this across the enterprise, one thing that we did run into that was pretty interesting, and we've noticed a lot of other clients have been running into it in the industry as well, was the essence of AI ethics. So we had to bring on some AI ethicists on the team, just because we're dealing with a lot of natural language processing. So what that means is typically at these call centers, when customers message in or call in, they can get very aggressive. They can start cursing on the phone. They can start saying racial slurs. It can get a little dicey for the agents. And so we want to make sure that we're implementing the proper AI, just because when we train the models on these customers' language and profanity and cursing and all that, the model starts developing these behaviors. It can then spit out ugly responses. There was an incident a few years ago where Twitter was being trained on Donald Trump's campaign, and there was a lot of interesting remarks that were coming out, and Twitter got backlash on the news. And so we looked at that, and it was also affecting our models. And so it was just an interesting part of AI that we had to explore. We were looking at how Google, YouTube, Amazon and Apple were addressing them as well. And there's a lot of scrubbers out there. There's a lot of off-the-shelf products that can use to help with addressing the AI ethics part, to train the models properly, make sure you're not offending any customers or agents or any of that sort of operational risk. And we started implementing that at the company, and we were making sure that the CSAT scores and the NPS scores were staying high. And after we implemented that, our solution was pretty scaled out, working very well. We noticed the client had tens of millions of cost savings a year, just because we extrapolated how many calls came in, how much time we've reduced. And we wanted to monitor the data that calls were trending towards, now that calls were being solved faster. And from that data, we wanted to figure out, what's the next best thing that we could work on. And after we figured out how to reduce a lot of call time from the agents and deflect a lot of issues that could be solved pretty quickly, the next logical step the customer, or actually the client, wanted to prioritize was how do we help our agents work on cross-selling or upselling activities to increase revenue. And so all this time that they now were saving during the day, how do we help them achieve their metrics, achieve their bonuses, sell different products that this company sells. And we were working on those use cases as well. So it was a pretty fascinating turnaround of and shift of types of models that we were creating and goals that we were also solving. So that's the 6-step process. The next slide will kind of go into the types of vendors that we were assessing when we were implementing this solution. So you've got your cloud providers at the top. They're pretty important to select a very industry leader in the cloud area, just because this part is one of the most important parts of implementing an AI solution, because these cloud providers have integrations into several downstream systems, and they also have their own solutions from the back end, the AI models, and the front end. In the middle, since these are call centers that we were trying to solve, we were looking for very specific call center technology vendors, as well as everything that goes into when a customer calls into a call center, such as SAP, like your customer account, financial information, or CRM information as well, and looking at these sort of vendors for the front end was very important for us. But when we looked at the AI engine, we started noticing that there's not a lot of big players yet who are fully established in the industry for building very unique AI technology for specific industries, such as call centers. So what that means is we noticed the big players and the smaller players were able to compete at the same level, just because this is kind of a new trend. And we were noticing some of the smaller players, like Hugging Face on the bottom left, were making rapid improvements in the AI world. And if you were building an AI engine, you're looking at Google's versus theirs. We were noticing some of the smaller guys were providing much better results for the AI engine. And so it was an interesting discovery to see that you want to kind of give an open mind to all these vendors as you're building an end-to-end solution. So move on to the next slide. So that leads into discussion of, as a buyer, if you're looking to invest in this area, the biggest question is, do I buy it? Do I buy it off the shelf on the left, or do I custom development? And based on our experience, if you're trying to launch an enterprise wide call center AI solution, you're going to need a bit of both. You're going to need a hybrid. So off the shelf, infrastructure wise, cloud platforms definitely do off the shelf. AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Azure, those are great products and systems to implement to host your data, organize your data. In terms of the front end, there are plenty of good off the shelf solutions as well that I was showing earlier on the front end for the agents. But when you get in the middle piece of it, which is the AI engines, the back end development, when you want to do custom dev, we did tend to notice that clients have very proprietary information customized to themselves in their industry, and every client's different. So it makes sense to train your AI models. You don't want to just use an off-the-shelf AI model that's already trained on just generalized data. Since your company has its own unique data, you will want to develop your own unique models and tweak it over time based on the use cases that are prioritized and important to you based on the goal setting. So there is a hybrid component to this, just different parts of the end-to-end solution. You'll have to look at that. So on to the next slide. When you're evaluating, after you've evaluated sort of this buyer build solution, you want to look at, what do you have to consider in the organization, and what kind of AI do you want to implement? So on the left side, we tend to look at AI kind of as like the human senses. So natural language processing is like our language, audio and speech. Audio is more about, hearing the customers and the agents talk over the phone, transcribing that into text, which will then power AI models from natural language processing. And then there's speech, which is speaking, and transcribing that as well. And then one thing we were experimenting that we've noticed is sort of trending in the industry is computer vision. So how to use that at a call center? You can actually, and not all clients are comfortable with this, but there is a way to track eyeballs on the screen for your agents just to see where they're spending the most time and difficulty on, whether it's an article or certain account information. And through that, you can help come up with new product roadmaps on use cases for product prioritization for solving different customer topics. So we were experimenting with a little bit of computer vision there as well. And then to host all of these 5 senses, you've got the AI infrastructure that really empowers it. So on the right side, technical checklist, functional checklist, and a business checklist. So obviously the business will want to look at the ROI, the cost associated into it, and the ethical implications that can come out of it. And then from the technical side, what kind of a scalable solution you're looking for, all the integration that comes with that as well. And then from a functional consideration, on the product side and the business side, trying to understand what features you want to prioritize first. Everybody's different. Everybody has different features that they're having pain points with in their company, and then customization and support for that as well. So this is just kind of a short checklist, but a very good high-level checklist just to consider as you're evaluating this type of solution. And then the next slide. These are 3 areas of KPIs that after you've implemented your solution, you're going to want to make sure that you track at a call center. So the top left, customer satisfaction, CSAT scores, NPS scores, first call resolution rates. Just how happy is your customer with now that you've implemented AI? Is it actually helping the CSAT? Is it lowering the CSAT? Things like that are really important for the customer satisfaction. It will help you pivot and see how you want to adjust your models, or even prioritize your use cases. And then on top right, you've got operational efficiency. So is it making your agents more efficient? Are they spending less time on the phone? Are they having to answer less calls? Are they able to, reduce call volume in general just because customers don't have to keep calling back? Those are really helpful metrics. Call routing efficiency is also really helpful, because if there are very simple issues that could be solved through a virtual assistant or a messaging agent that can handle 10 conversations at a time, sometimes we can reroute these calls into a messaging agent, a live agent on the messages. And then on the bottom left, agent performance specifically. So a lot of these agents typically have metrics that will help them not only with their efficiency, but also with selling and building and generating revenue for the company. So our client, there were a bunch of agents who were very interested in wanting to cross-sell accessories or tablets or devices or headphones or anything that the company is selling that could help generate and improve their metrics as well. So these were really important things that we didn't really prioritize in the beginning, but after we freed up a lot of time at the call centers, they were becoming more and more popular use cases with the client. So that's pretty much it from my end. It was a pretty thorough solution that we've implemented. It took a couple years, and it's scaled, and then there's different progressions of it, from a virtual assistant to a messaging agent and into the voice agents.
All right, thanks, Paul. So before I dive in the next section, which is more about what we learned from those 2 use cases, and also with other AI implementation that we've done in the past, I see that we already have a couple of questions. I don't want to, I just want to share with you guys, if you want to ask questions about what we have been presenting up to now and what we're about to present in the next 10 minutes, don't hesitate to ping in the chat your question. We'll keep most likely 10 minutes towards the end to address those. All right, so let's talk about the lesson learned. That's the interesting part, right? So we really, what did we see at the end of those projects where we talked about implementing AI for customer care? So when we look at the how, so how to deliver that innovation through AI in customer care, we really saw 3 main aspects that were really big enablers in the success of those programs. The first one is leveraging the cloud. So I already mentioned it's really a great way to have scalability on your solution. So to adjust, to also to adjust with the volume of calls, and to also optimize your cost when you have some downtime. You don't have to get all the big the high availability resources that you would need if you are at peak time. And the other thing that is pretty cool about the cloud is that it's pretty the barrier of entry on that technology is pretty low, because when you have the skill set, when you have the right partner, you can get in and build a POC very quickly and test out your ideas and see if it works. And then from that first level of experimentation, then build your solution and scale that up to something that is production grade. So that aspect, being able to experiment quickly and also have all those best practices from cloud providers that are available to you, it's also a great way to accelerate your time to market for features. So that's really a big aspect of the projects that we've been doing in that space. The second one, the second enabler that we found was really agile approach. That was really something that would naturally include a feedback loop in the delivery process. So being able to build a component, get feedback from stakeholders first, get feedback from teams, adjust it, go back to the production of new features, and then iteratively create that product. And then once it's in production, get the feedback from direct customers. So having that agile approach, building based on the feedback we got, either from stakeholders or from customers, was really a great way to make sure that when we flip the switch in production, we have the right thing that is in front of the customers or the CSRs for the expert assist solution. It's also a great way to adjust. We know that something that was designed that has been designed at the beginning of the project might change over time, because we learn during the delivery that we learn that solutions are a little bit different. We learn also how to integrate those solutions with the current systems. So it allows that adjustment layer in the delivery process. The last enabler in the how to deliver this is really automate the delivery process. That is a major component. It looks like it's not very interesting because it's very infrastructure related, but it is key. And the key aspect that I would mention is that's the components that will allow companies to deliver features to production, not once a month or once a quarter, but several times a day. That's something that we did on the story that Paul shared with you guys today. We were able to deliver in production, so it really opens up possibilities. It opens up possibilities on the maintenance aspect. So if there is hot fixes that we need to deploy quickly, we don't have to wait 1 month, for the next release to do it. And it's also a way, kind of mindset where it's easier to weave in some new features in the roadmap. So really an important enabler. So 3 things: cloud, agile, and the delivery process with DevOps and all those technologies. That was really key aspects to this. So the second part is more on the strategic side of things. So if you are embarking on that journey of leveraging AI for customer care, or looking for a second wave of implementation of AI on your customer care platform or tech stack, 4 things that we really saw important, and that were also success factors in those implementation. So the first one is experimentation, and it's very true, especially for AI, because AI is evolving very, very rapidly. And I don't think I overstate that too much. It's really, when we look at the last 2 years now, because ChatGPT was unveiled in November 2022, if I recall correctly. The pace of innovation in the AI aspect, in the AI field, is just amazing. We've seen solutions popping up. Every 6 months is probably too broad or too large, but very rapidly we have new solutions coming up. And to Paul's point, we have small solutions that are very, very efficient. We have some big disruptors in that field because of the two stats I was bringing at the beginning. I think everybody has a lot of expectation on how AI can transform and disrupt customer care. So because of that component, experimentation is really key. That's really important because what you decide now might not be the best solution in 6 months or in a year because of the solutions evolving, because also of the customer expectation evolving. So baking a component where you can experiment, test out solutions regularly, that's a way to keep the edge. Agility and short cycle, I already talked about it, in the agile aspect for these implementations. But being able to do small implementations, show value quickly. So that's the way to get the time to market right for the features that you want to have in production. Number 3 is really what Paul mentioned with the KPIs. So we've seen several times clients getting into the tactical things, experimenting, doing the agile cycle, but not linking what was done tactically on projects with the value streams that were identified at the corporate level or the executive level. So whenever we have a program like this, we always like to, when we shape the solution with our clients, we like to identify what are the value streams that are at the corporate level, so we can link those streams to the actual work being done by the team. So that way, over time, when we build those features, it's easier to justify what is the impact on the corporate KPIs that are really important for you guys. The last point that I would mention is the managing the vendor lock-in. So it's also linked to what I was saying at the beginning. AI is evolving a lot. So betting on one solution and putting all your eggs in the same basket for that solution is something to be careful about, just because of the high dynamism of this solution market. So we always suggest to consider the long-term bet, knowing that there's going to be big changes. We've seen that in the last year. ChatGPT came up with GenAI solution 2 years ago. I already said that, but some other cloud providers came up with their own solution. Also, suggesting to keep options open just because of that nature of this market. So all of that's something that we usually help our clients with when we do a current state assessment, when we try to figure out what kind of solution can be established in that AI space. Right. So my closing slide is really about how do we start, that AI journey, or how do we continue if you're already in that space with your call center. So the way to start, it's always difficult when you see the mountain in front of you. You know where the trail is, but you don't know if it's what is the slope on that trail and where to go through. So you have different ways to look at that. If you are really at the beginning, you can have some benchmarking kind of approach to identify what is the right AI solution for you. Back to what Paul was explaining about the different the slide on the different vendors that you can leverage and solutions. We can help doing that benchmark, seeing what is the right fit for you. And suggest some use cases and solutions. The other entry point would be, the use cases. So I know that, a lot of thinking goes into AI these days, just because there is an executive mandate in most of the companies right now to invest in this, because it's a huge opportunity for all of us. So brainstorming on the use case, trying to find out which one will stick, which one is bringing the best impact on the corporate KPIs. That's another way to look at this, and we can support you guys on that. Once one is defined, then we can go into an AI solution definition where we identify the right solution, we look at the requirements, we can establish a roadmap, get started with a POC, see if we prove out the concept, and get the buy-in from executive to secure a project business case. That's something that we can help on too. And the last one is scaling up the roadmap. So imagine that we have some clients already having rolled out those features, obviously. So they are thinking about what's next, what kind of other solution they would like to implement. So that's second part of the AI roadmap, where it's laying down an additional layer of AI within the customer care tech stack is also something that is another way to kickstart or to continue your AI journey. All right, so with that, we have 5 minutes for questions. So I don't know if we. I'm just looking at that. I see one question that is about the vendors that we recommend. So I don't know, Paul, if you want to take this one.
Yeah. So there's different parts of the end-to-end solution that we recommend in terms of vendors. AWS is pretty advanced in terms of providing an end-to-end AI solution. So they have everything from cloud to back-end to AI models to front-end. However, we really liked working with AWS on the cloud, and then being able to pick and choose and compare on the front end and the AI and the back end with other vendors. So since this is a call center AI, Amazon doesn't have their own specific industry leading call center front end, and there's a lot of other call center front end technologies that a lot of vendors that we assessed that were really powerful in terms of integrating with the AI. So we did select a different front end vendor called LivePerson. So liveperson.com, very helpful for messaging agents as well as voice. And then from the back end, full stack development side, we did have an in-house development team for several of these solutions. And then from an AI side, we did have an in-house AI machine learning engineers and AI data scientists development team that were developing their own models, or also using off-the-shelf models from much smaller vendors such as like Hugging Face. And we also used Corsair, and then NVIDIA was being used as well as a competitor for some of the AI solutions that we've had. So,
all right. Thanks, Paul. I see another question and that's a good question actually, because we had that on those projects. What are the ethical considerations involved in using AI for customer care? So it's definitely a topic that comes up very often in AI discussion, especially since the Gen AI wave that we've been seeing since ChatGPT unveiled, since OpenAI unveiled ChatGPT. I would say that we usually look at that through another framework that is not on this slide, but we look at the privacy, we look at the ethics in terms of fairness, accountability, making sure that it's human-centered, the transparency also of AI in the decision-making process. But we look also at what are the implications with legal, with compliance, with operations, and with security. So that's usually another set of things that we add on our engagements to help our clients make sure that whenever there is an AI solution, especially the emerging Gen AI, we have this framework set up, so we have the right level of coverage on that part. So I see some other questions. We'll try to answer those after the call. I know that we have only 1 minute, and I just want to make sure that we take the time to thank you guys for joining us today to talk about customer care and AI. We hope that it was informative for you guys. If you have any additional questions, just let us know. We have the contact info that is available. And we'll be happy to try to answer and to connect with you if you want also have a double click on any of those topics that we presented today. All right, so with that, thank you very much again for joining us and wishing you guys a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.